You're listening to the Paul Higgins podcast for SaaS consulting partners ready to scale beyond six figures without more work or a bigger team. Let's dive in. Are your clients still stuck in CRM at 10 p.m. at night? We all know the story. The CRM's powerful, sure, but the team's drowning in admin, and it's a pain. The sales process starts to feel less like a growth engine and more like a daily grind. That's where this episode comes in. I'm Paul, and welcome to episode 622 of the Paul Higgins Mentoring Podcast, joined by Gaurav Bhattacharya, and he's CEO of Jeeva.ai, so it's Jeeva.ai. And we're unpacking some of the big ideas today, like why most outbound tools are time wasters that actually hurt trust and what to use instead, how Jeeva works with your CRM to automate the boring stuff like research, outreach, follow-ups, all of it, and how your consulting clients can leapfrog the grunt work entirely. Now, Gaurav, or what we'll call him as G from now on, is not your average founder. He's a repeat B2B SaaS builder. He's Forbes 30 under 30 honoree, and he's scale exited and raised millions before most founders even launched their first MVP. Right now, he's leading the charge in Jeeva.ai. He's building AI-powered SDR agents that help B2B teams 2 times their pipeline in half the time and with lower cost. Before that, he co-founded Involve AI, where he scaled it to over 500 companies and 1.1 million users, raised 20 million from VCs like Sapphire and Stanford, and hit 5 million ARR in under 9 months with just 11 people. Oh, and he built a national radiography tool at 17 that got adopted by the Indian government. So yes, he's not here to preach the theory. G brings real-world operator stories, tactical go-to-market frameworks, and lessons your clients can actually use. If you're tech forward but still doing sales the hard way, or in particular if your clients are, you'll want to take notes. All right, over to G from Jeeva.ai. G, fantastic to have you here.
I'm really excited to be here, Paul. Thanks for the opportunity.
We're going to have to squeeze a lot in because I'm so excited about this whole sales AI and Jeev, which you've brought to the market, and we're going to talk a lot more about it. But why don't we hear from you? Who is your ideal client and what problems it solves?
So, Paul, we work with all sorts of businesses, but it's companies that have usually B2B products. That's what we specialize in. We work with a lot of service-based companies, product-based companies, so everything from like our typical technology SaaS solutions, but a lot of cybersecurity firms, a lot of IT services, a lot of infrastructure services, financial services. We work with banking software. We work with healthcare service providers. So we work with a lot of service-based firms or software companies that have a B2B product. And it anywhere from like 10 employees. Now we actually signed our first largest customer called JLL, which is a property management services company, which has 300,000 employees. So the spectrum is quite huge, but mid-market is our sweet spot. So that's what we do. And we work with sellers and sales, head of CRM, head of RevOps, head of demand generation is usually the buyer. And then sales reps and sellers and BDRs, SDRs use our product.
Great. And look, I know that we're going to talk about Salesforce and other platforms soon, but now there's a lot of great CRMs out there. How does your product accompany and make a salesperson's job easier than what it was before?
Yeah, totally, Paul. That's such a great question. And what we do is we believe that we could be the next really cool AI add-on to CRM. So once a company has a good CRM implementation, they usually have a really good system of record where they now understand which companies have they closed, which leads are in the funnel, where are they in the funnel and what's going on, what the location looks like, what prioritization looks like, what ideal customer profile looks like. Now, after that, we can be a really good solution for amplifying that and helping them double or triple pipeline. So our focus primarily right now is how do we make a few number of sellers 10x sellers, and we do that by helping sales reps automate some of the manual repetitive tasks that they do every day on top of the CRM. So as an example, everything from finding good leads and enriching data to hyper-personalized outreach across LinkedIn and email, following up with chat leads or inbound leads, or just researching new leads every single morning, and then running kind of agentic task of like, just as an example, if I am a software provider which is selling IT technology services, I can easily just say, find me all companies in San Francisco, find me all VPs of IT and CIOs and CTOs in those companies, then go to research whether they have a SOC 2 compliance or not. And if they don't, then I could then write a personalized email on my behalf, which could say, hey, John, saw that your SOC 2 expired in 2022, right? I think it's really important for you to win enterprise deals, and here's how I can help you. So that kind of work that's manual, repetitive, labor intensive, we fast forwarded with AI sitting on top of CRM systems.
Great. And one thing that we've talked about off air and it sort of comes to mind is Clay. Like I know Clay sort of plays in this space as well. So, what's the difference for those that have listened to prior podcasts where I've had people from Clay on? What's the difference between, say, Clay and Jeeva.ai does?
Yeah, totally. There's a couple of key differences, even though Clay has built an awesome, like really powerful solution for data enrichment. And I think that's what they're really good at.
Yes.
What we do is we kind of take some of the complexity away. We've built it in a natural language search interface. Imagine this like a co-pilot, which sits with you, listens to you, can work in your CRM system, can work in your email, can work on calendar, and it's in natural language. So like ChatGPT, I can go in. So instead of building these really complex Clay tables, our tool is primarily designed not for RevOps and for GTM engineers. It's designed for salespeople, lay people who are basically more good at talking to customers than working with spreadsheets. That's what we designed it for and who we designed it for. And it does not have the power that Clay has, but it has the simplicity. So maybe it's 50% as powerful as Clay, but 95% easier to use. So that would be the difference. So again, like depends on what a company wants to use. The premise is, Paul, that I can go in and natural language type that, find me all VPs of sales in San Francisco who work in financial services with more than 5,000 employees who work Salesforce as their CRM. And then the AI agent would go and build a list for you, go research those people for you, can look into your CRM and say, who have you talked to already? What does an ICP look like now? Let me clean it for you. That's the kind of power that we bring with the simplicity of just like ChatGPT-like experience. And that's kind of how we're differentiating from Clay. Actually, a lot of people who use Clay and who use Clay agencies and a lot of agents, they are adding us as a top of it to just give it to their reps to use directly. I think that's like a big difference of user experience and how we are trying to build this.
Fantastic. That's a great way of explaining the differences. And as far as lead sources, are they lead sources that you guys own, or can you add your own lead sources to, like you said, native voice over the top of it?
So you can do both. You can't actually put in your keys and your data. You can upload it. We can basically say we plug into Salesforce or Pipedrive or Zoho, and you can say bring all the leads that are assigned to me. I'm the account owner, and bring all the companies, and now I can go find the right people and the decision makers and find the right emails and cell phones and then push it back to Zoho as an example. So that's one use case. The other use case is we also do an enrichment waterfall. So the first is like we have built our own agent that can go do Google searches. We don't scrape LinkedIn, but what we do is we can actually get some of the data that LinkedIn has just from Google searches. I can go and say Paul Higgins on Google and try to get some of your LinkedIn information just via Google. And then we have our own algorithm to find emails. And then for cell phones, we have 50 plus data providers from Clio to Apollo to Lucia to ZoomInfo, and we're just going to hit one by one, see how quickly we can find your cell phone, and we'll only charge you for credits, very similar to Clay as an example. And that's kind of what we would use. And then we have our own agents to do Google searches, to look into your CRM, to find data that is within your CRM that we can clean and enrich. So all that stuff. But that's the way that it's designed. The other thing that we do on top of Clay is, instead of you now working with an Outreach or Apollo or something like a SalesLoft for sequencing, we also have like our sequencing built in directly through your Google, Gmail, or Outlook that you use. We can do LinkedIn automation as well. Everything from send someone a personalized connection request, pause for a few days, send a first personalized email, pause for a few days, send a second personalized email, maybe follow up, bump up LinkedIn. And as soon as they respond, it can just basically take them off the sequence. So So the AI can actually do a sequence. We are working on a parallel dialer right now and texting capability. So you'll be able to do WhatsApp messaging, texting, but multi-channel orchestration once you have really good data and enrichment. So that's like an addition that we have added to just centralize everything beyond the CRM.
Brilliant. And also calendar, is there any calendar integration as well?
Yeah, totally. We actually have a very killer feature, Paul, that's like one of our reps' or sellers' favorite feature, where we can plug into calendar and we do something called the deep research. And deep research is awesome. It's like the first thing we built. And what it does is it actually goes into the prospect that you want to talk to, tries to find as much information about them. So this is like running the deep research on ChatGPT. It can actually go and scrape their LinkedIn profile. It can go and look at any webinars or podcasts they've done. Then it can also look at, for example, if I'm reaching out to someone at Airbnb, I can see when was their last earnings report, what did Brian Chesky talk about, what did he mention in news? So I can give an entire summary of everything I can find about this person online, everything I can find about this company online. And with calendar, I can actually give a daily digest for you. So every morning a rep wakes up, they basically see these are 20, like I'm saying 20 because, hopefully our reps we work with get 20 meetings a day. But let's say these are 7 meetings for me from the day. 2 of them are internal, 5 of them I'm meeting Microsoft. Here's the 3 people I'm meeting. Here's everything about Microsoft and everything about them. Then next meeting. So we have this really killer functionality of calendar updates, but it's synced in with your calendar. We also have a calendar link, I know, which is a lot of people do that with Calendly, but this one actually integrates directly with your CRM system. So you can kind of find open slots and it'll just pop up and say, this lead exists in Salesforce. Here's their background. Here's their summary. So we're doing some really cool stuff in like combining the data that lives in your CRM, in your email, in your calendar, and trying to like put it together.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know that you said the platforms at the moment are, PyDrive, Zoho, HubSpot, and Salesforce are the key ones.
We added 2 more since we last spoke. So now we have Flows and we also have Microsoft Dynamics. So those are like the 2 that we just added. And we have a very deep partnership with Microsoft. Actually, they gave us a bunch of free credits through a program, and we work with a Microsoft startup program that they invested in us with. So we work very closely with the Azure ecosystem, and we just did Microsoft Dynamics. So we're doing a bunch of work with Azure, Microsoft Teams, and Dynamics as well.
Fantastic. Can you give us any insight? This is coming out in July of 2025. Like how quickly you're adding other key CRM platforms?
Actually, that's a great question, Paul. I think this is so important for us. So we have like 1 CRM integration planned a week as of now. So we have an integrations team that is 3 engineers that are dedicated to this. And I know when I say 3 engineers sounds like a small number, but with AI, Paul, 99% of our code is written with AIs who use AI 24/7 to code as fast as possible. And we're doing 1 CRM integration a week almost. So we're actively working on it. Like I know we were talking about Go High Level right before this call. That's in our roadmap. We're doing a native Zapier integration. We have Freshdesk and Active Campaigns is also planned as far as I know. But we have a whole roadmap where we're doing 1 CRM integration a week, and our goal is to be like the premium provider for pipeline generation for all these CRM players.
Yeah, fantastic. And you know how you talk about the AI development, etc. Just as a question, I suppose, a little bit outside of the sales world, but you've been in this game for 15 years. You started your first company that you sold to or helped with the Indian government. When you were 17. Can you believe how quick it's allowed you to create a product? Roughly $7 million in 12 months is a brilliant effort. Can you believe that we've come as far as?
Yeah, there's no way, Paul. And even I've been in machine learning and AI since the very beginning. I feel like I worked on the old AI and this is almost a new AI, which is fascinating. A lot of people who've been in AI will tell you we almost have to check ourselves because in a way I've been working on AI for many years. But a lot of the AI that we worked on, Paul, was predictive intelligence. It was all about prediction. It was about analytics, and it was about how can you predict something? So certain amounts of data. How can you make an inference and how can you make a decision? This new AI is like autocomplete, which basically means you know something and now let me write the next version of this, which is based on the earlier models of reinforced learning, but it's large language models are a whole new beast in itself. And kudos to OpenAI for going in this direction because the whole industry and the world was going more towards reinforced learning. And now they came up with like autocomplete and next best action almost, right? That's kind of what they came up with. And based on that, now everything is kind of like coming up with that. And that's what the industry is. So they pick a field, and the field meant to be the winning concept. In short, I am as surprised and excited about this, even being in AI, on how quickly things are moving, how quickly things are being generated. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, Paul. He's also a startup founder, and and I was talking to him, and I was basically saying that, hey, we're almost going to go from 0 to 10 million in less than in probably a year, and it's going to be amazing. Never thought of it. And he was citing examples of like the company he came across called Lovable, which is a code gen solution to build cool apps. So you can just prompt, kind of like us, but you can prompt and say, build me this website, build me this cool thing. And and he was saying that they went from like 0 to 50 million in like a year. And I was like, that's wild. Can you imagine that, Paul? Like, I haven't seen that. It's crazy. It's happening. And this is real revenue. Who knows what the retention curves look like and how like the long-term defensibility of the business looks like, because everything is moving so quickly. But speed has been such a superpower for some of these AI companies, not just for the AI companies, but folks who are using AI every day. And that's what gets me really excited.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. And, the whole new partnership, I can't remember exactly the guy's name. You probably know that, the hardware solution that, built all the Apple products is now joined with OpenAI. Like, what's going to happen there is very, very exciting. But back to Jeeva.ai, if you look at all these AI products, there's an undercurrent in the world sort of saying, like cold outreach is becoming harder and harder because there's so much of it now, right? Like I was quoting someone yesterday in one of our group calls, 50 approaches every day. He knows that they're all AI, et cetera. So how does Jeeva help, cut through that noise?
Yeah, no, that's such a good question, Paul. And I feel email efficacy is down in general. I have like some learnings that maybe I want to share with the audience here. A couple of learnings that I've seen is deliverability is a very hard game now. Maybe like the 10-second background. I never thought that I'll become an email expert when I started this company, but I thought I'm an AI expert, but I have to spend a lot of time understanding email. The way that email works, Paul, is like we would send a lot of emails. Deliverability was really high, and it's the cheapest channel that you could get good quality leads from. And the better emails you wrote, the better deliverability would be. You'd get more hits. Then tools like Outreach and SalesLoft said, the reps are only just changing the first name, last name, company name. So let's just go in and let's use an API where we can just swap that out and send massive. And then Google and Microsoft are like, hey, we don't want you like blast and spam the internet. So what we're going to do is, if you're sending it through an API, you have hard limits. You can only send 100 emails a day, for example, from an API provider like SalesLoft. But if you've seen, Paul, like if you send emails on your own, you probably can send so many more. Google actually allows you to send 5,000 emails a day, but through an API, you can send a few. The next evolution to that was like people said, hey, why don't you create a bunch of warm-up emails and inboxes in multiple domains? And now all of that is getting blocked as well. So in short, what's happening is A, there's a lot of AI outreach and generic messaging. B, everybody is using like tons of like burner domains and 20, 30 emails and inboxes and tons of tools like SalesLoft and Instantly, which can blast the internet. What we actually do is we don't use APIs. We would actually create an email in your inbox directly as a draft. So this way you're sending manual emails. You're not using an API. So it improves deliverability. And our goal is like we tell our reps to say, only send 50 emails consistently every single day, 7 days a week, no more than 50. You can send 20 if you want to, but don't try to blast the internet, but send high quality, less stuff, and chances of you getting through, cutting through the noise is more. Multi-channel works, going on LinkedIn, going on these Slack groups, having more user-generated content. So it's all about being more multi-channel now, Paul. It's harder than ever. It's easier than ever to sell something and harder than ever to sell something, right? It's logical, but that's the world we live in right now.
Yeah, and I think that's where, if I step back, I look at what you're doing is providing, whether it's an SDR, the owner of the sales, whoever's doing the sales in the business, you're providing them better data and better information to work against that current of just this pray and spray that's out there. So I think, if I look at it, you're on the side of good versus some other providers, like you said, that are just spamming. And for you, you briefly mentioned, WhatsApp. I know in Europe it's huge, but in different markets, is there a difference in what people use as their key communication platform in business? And if so, how do you adapt for that?
Yeah, see, WhatsApp is so big. Telegram, which we don't integrate with yet, but is being heard again and again now. But WhatsApp is getting more and more popular in many parts of the world. Like my family's in India. I mean, even though I'm in the US, WhatsApp is an American company now with Meta, but a lot of international folks use it. So my whole family is on WhatsApp. Their business is on WhatsApp. I signed up for like a digital marketing course in India right now. And they were like, let's add you on WhatsApp. And I was like, oh, we don't do that as US companies, right? We would basically message you or email you. But it's so interesting. They were like, because I was giving my email and they said, don't worry about it. We'll just WhatsApp it to you. So it's becoming more and more of the norm. There's different channels that are coming up again and again. One particular one that I'm really excited about is almost like Slack groups, Paul. And I can bet like the audience that you have, they probably have with their customers, they either have a Slack group or a Microsoft Teams group. Yep. And that's becoming a really big norm now. So, and it usually happens once you sign a contract. But what we are seeing is, and what we're promoting is, why can't sellers create Slack groups when they're selling a deal, when they're in process of selling a deal, or a Teams group where they can just go and say, hey, let me help you through the buying process. And we'll create a channel where we can easily talk async, right? Like anytime we want, and you can ask me questions, I can ask questions. I can bring a sales engineer to help with your CRM implementation, and we can have a group even before the contract signed. So there's like a few creative things sellers are doing now to adapt in this AI world, and which includes like WhatsApp and using Telegram and some of the other channels, but also using Slack groups and Facebook groups, or maybe these Microsoft Teams channels that actually help you close the deal, not just manage the relationship after the customer signed.
Brilliant. And I know that, originally the plan for Slack was to be the communication layer that sat across all of, Salesforce's ecosystems, right? So you basically use that as the window. So, there's a lot of discussion at the moment where, will you use let's call it OpenAI because it's the most used ChatGPT. Do you use ChatGPT and then it goes and sources everything elsewhere? Do you use products like yourself that sit over the sales CRM, or are you in the sales CRM native? Like, what's your view on how this is sort of playing out?
That is so interesting, Paul. It's like the debate of the century. And I don't know where the puck's going to land. I can kind of envision where the puck's going. And ChatGPT has done is phenomenal. They basically created this hyper addictive product. So I'll give an example. I have a lot of friends who use the API for Gemini. So Gemini has a 2.5 Pro, which is one of their latest models. It's right up there with OpenAI. So if you look at some of the O3 reasoning models that OpenAI brings out, Gemini is right there. Yes. A lot of people are using the Claude API, the Gemini API. Even Salesforce uses a bunch of these for different tasks inside Slack. The cool part is not many people use it. Everyone's still on ChatGPT, right? Like they may use something for their model and for the product, but they use ChatGPT because it's so addictive. It was first in the game, and they've basically created a new app where we're hooked. In short, what I feel is that a lot of these applications have to adapt and be on top of CRM, have to be on top of email, have to be on top of calendar. Yes. Have to work where people work and spend majority of the time. Yes. It's insanely hard to create something like TikTok and Instagram where they're like, it's another new channel. Imagine if I told you tomorrow, Paul, or if I say that there's going to be this new app, right? We're going to call it like, Gronk something, right? Like Grok is, right? Gronk something. And it's going to be the new place where all the salespeople, go-to-market people, CRM people, and they're not going to use CRM anymore. They're going to go on this app. So hard to believe, right? Like so hard to believe that. And it's true. I think we have to catch where people are, and they're usually in their CRM 50% of the time. 50% of the time they're in email, calendar, or right, like, or go to market, like in face-to-face meetings. So we are trying to build Jeeva to live where people live. And that's our approach. I wish we can create something as addictive as ChatGPT in the future, but for now our strategy is to be where people work, which is primarily for us, because we serve go-to-market teams, it's the CRM systems.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. And I think, if we go back to where you started with, there's always going to be a tool with more complexity, like Clay, you said, is a fantastic option. But you're going to play, it's like the shepherd, or like the person that's really supporting that salesperson. That it's hard enough doing selling without all of the technology and the different ways to scrape information and whatever. You're going to sort of be that company that sits over the top of all of that. I think that makes perfect sense. And and I think if you're watching this, like I said, in July 25, and you're a partner or a consultant that supports a specific sales CRM, stay tuned, because at one a week. By the time this is live and by time, you'll be there. If not, reach out to G. We'll have his LinkedIn details there, and, he can tell you where the next one is on the edition. But I think that's really smart too. And I know that you've pretty heavy hitters in our world that's supporting you. One Mark, and I think there's Sam. We all know who Sam is. I think when we mention Mark, there's a couple. There's Zuck, and then I think there's Benioff, right? I know you've got the Benioff one supporting you. So just quickly tell us, why do you think he invested in a company like yours?
Yeah, so it's a great story, and maybe I can do a really quick story for you, Paul, and I think people would love this. Paul, we actually launched a really cool feature which is called inbound lead tracking, and it's very simple. The concept has existed for many years. ZoomInfo does this, and what they would do is they would track like anyone who's coming. 6sense does it, Demandbase does it. What they do is they would track an IP address. And from the IP, you can basically find out which company it is because there's now a big database of IPs and it's reverse engineered already. It's actually a public database. You can go look up all the IPs and it matches to some company, let's say Google, Microsoft, whatever. And it keeps getting updated. It's actually a public database. We had an idea, and now many people do this, and that's what they entirely focus on. But what we focused on was we were like, why can't we reverse engineer the people? Because we have the IP data. We can sometimes find like, hey, who's like the first name or the last name that might be coming? And we can find the location. And we can basically say that if Paul came, who works for a company, let's say Salesforce, and who is in Sydney, I'm making something up, can I actually look up and find a real person? And if it matches, then probabilistically it's that person. Long story short, so I had pitched this guy called Jack Altman, who was the CEO of Lattice. Lattice is an HR company, almost like 500 million in ARR. He's no longer the CEO there, but great entrepreneur. Yes. So he's brothers with Sam Altman. So that's kind of how I got the alt investment. But the funny story is I actually pitched him. He ghosted, never talked to me again, which a lot of investors do. And 3 months later, I saw him on the website. And I literally texted him and I was like, Jack, I've been thinking about our last conversation. What great insights. I basically made some BS up. Which you're like, Jack, we'd love to catch up with you and show you updates on, Jeeva.ai and what we've done so far. Got on a quick demo with him and he was kind enough to say, this is amazing. Sam and I would like to invest. They have a whole Generate fund and all capital, like a fund that they've been working out of. And Jack invested. So that's kind of how I got them. Through that, I got introduced to Mark Benioff because Mark was an early investor. I don't know if he was an early investor in OpenAI, but he was certainly an early follower in Y Combinator, which was like they invested a bunch together. He was an investor and maybe a board member even at Jack's company at Lattice. And I got to pitch him and it was an awesome conversation. Very quickly, it became into a small check. And I've had multiple discussions with tons of senior Salesforce leadership since then, like from talking to their chief operating officer, EVP of cloud, talking to their chief AI officer on like where they're going. And we're obviously much smaller, like we're a very, very small fish compared to Salesforce, but yes, so far they're very excited about what we're building and how it can be a very complementary service to what they're building as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think if you're a Salesforce partner listening to that, it's got to give you a lot of confidence that, there's lots and lots of tools that are coming and we're all trying to work out, will this one make it? Will this one survive? Has this one got the right backing, etc.? But I think this is a fantastic example of, this one might have the right backing, so it's worth having a look at. I could literally ask you a lot more questions. The one that I really want to know is around this natural language and chat, right? It's in your product. When do you think we'll be throwing away the keyboard and we'll just be talking rather than typing?
Yeah, it's super soon. Paul, actually, I started using Whisper, which is a new product. I think it's free, where you can download it. I'm using it for coding. And what you can do is you could just get it. I don't know if it costs some money, but there's some free alternatives too. And it's a mic that can follow around. And instead of you just click where you want to type, and you can just start talking to it. I use it for coding. There's a new term called vibe coding. I don't know if you heard of this, Paul. It's what it means is, instead of like you typing, you're just doing vibe coding, which means you're talking to the agent and the agent's coding for you. And you just ask it if it makes a bunch of issues. Instead of you trying to fix it, you basically be like, scrap everything, do it again, because it's so cheap and cost of compute so cheap and all that stuff. There's some tools. There's someone who's a programmer. There's Windsurf and Cursor, and now GitHub has an agent. So these are like tools that software engineers use. The amount of time I save, Paul, is meaningful. I save like 1 to 2 hours a day in coding, which from typing, I'm doing so much more and so much better. Long story short, I do feel there's a realistic opportunity where keyboards might go away. It may not happen like ASAP. It may happen like a few days, few weeks from now, a few months from now, a few years from now, but it is happening. Engineers are already doing it. And usually like the geeks are the first people to adopt something cool. And then like the cool people follow a little bit later, right? So I feel like the sales and the go-to-market people might be a little bit later adopters of this, but it is happening. At least if not, natural language is the way to go for everything now. You're going to see all the interfaces in natural language because who has to go and try to figure out complexity, right? Like it's so hard. Anyways, if there's a new CRM system, imagine like if some company goes in and your audience knows this better than anyone, right? If they use Dynamics and all of a sudden the company's made a strategic decision to move to Salesforce, which might be the best freaking decision, but it's going to take months and years to get everybody adopted, implemented on Salesforce. And I feel like if there was a natural language button where someone on the back end, which, the agency does all the work and it's ready. And then all the rep has to do is like type in, tell me everything about my deals, open up my dashboard, or, go do this for me. I think that's like the interface for the future. And that's come sooner rather than later because it's going to cut adoption time, activation time, retention cycles. All of this is going to get better because of the natural language interface.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And I think of, all the years that I've spent in sales, almost 30 years, it's like all of those things that stop you from playing the main game. And I think the brilliant thing with Jeeva.ai, it's another option to make you play the main game rather than the admin game. And, ultimately all we want to do is have conversations to understand what people's problems are so we can solve them to get them a great result. And I think, what Jeeva.ai helps achieve is making that a lot easier. And if you're Pipedrive, Zoho, HubSpot, Salesforce, Close, MS Dynamics, brilliant, you're there. And if you're not, and you're another partner that's looking to provide this as a CRM solution for your clients, just go to the Jeeva site, and hopefully by then you'll have your CRM there, including GHL. Go high level for me, please. Look, what we're going to do is just pause for a moment, thank our sponsors, and then we'll come back with the rapid fire questions. If you're relying on social media or AI to stay ahead in SaaS consulting, you're missing 90% of the conversation. AI doesn't have access to this information. No algorithm can replace real-world insights from top SaaS partners who've built multi-million-dollar consultancies. Every week, I send a short, high-impact newsletter straight into your inbox. No fluff, no AI-generated noise, just real strategies that work. You'll find exclusive interviews with top SaaS partners and industry experts, behind-the-scenes insights on what's actually working right now, and solo episodes and deep dives you won't find anywhere else on the planet. Recent topics include how top partners build seven-figure businesses without platform dependence, from Salesforce partner to integration powerhouse, and the 5 productivity shifts that doubled my output without adding more hours. This is the only place in the world where you'll get these insights. No recycled content, no AI summaries, just battle-tested strategies that help you land bigger deals and build a business that doesn't depend on you. Want it? Please subscribe now at paulhigginsmentoring.com/newsletter. That's paulhigginsmentoring.com/newsletter. Don't let AI or social media decide what you learn. Get the best SaaS consulting insights straight into your inbox. Gee, ready for the rapid fire questions?
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's go.
Other than Jeeva.ai and the other AI that we've mentioned, what's something that's really jumped out to you of late that you're using?
Okay, so I'm going to say 3 tools, and they're a little bit non-obvious, but they're still famous. So I use a tool called, obviously we use ChatGPT, right? So what we can do is, what I've been experimenting with, Paul, is I can use ChatGPT to create a video script for like a minute. I use something called 11 Labs. I recorded my voice and it creates a clone of my voice. It's only $9 or $10 a month. It's amazing. It can get my accent. It can get how I say certain words. It's perfect. I use that to kind of say the script in my voice. Then I use a tool called HeyGen. And what HeyGen does is it basically creates a video avatar of me. So where I can go in and I can start a video like this, kind of like how you're sitting right now in front of a podcast. You can create an avatar like this.
Yes.
And you can record your whole video. Then there's a tool called Captions. And what it does, it kind of makes it into like a YouTube short. So everything's automated. It's AI. Barely you can tell it's AI because you will actually intro the video for 10 seconds like this. And then Captions will cut it up and add different backgrounds and different kind of captions and different like maybe someone walking, someone drinking coffee based on the script. And you can now have like a 1-minute production ready YouTube short or TikTok short or LinkedIn video for $40 in less than like an hour, basically. It's wild. Like what would take you multiple hours?
Yes.
Right? Can be done in 30 minutes. So that's like, those are like the 3 really cool AI tools that I've been playing with recently.
Brilliant and great case study, an example. Next is, where do you go to find out more about, growing your business?
Yeah. So I'm actually a very old school guy. I love reading books and I love reading biographies. So I've read everything from Benjamin Franklin to Steve Jobs. And, so I try to find really old industry leaders who built category defining companies. It could be like Sam Altman. So that's what I do. And so I love reading books. In the world of AI, I actually love sitting with a book and I love reading biographies and autobiographies. So that's usually where I get a lot of my business content from. And I love learning by not direct teachings, but almost like from life examples, right? That's how I usually get the most out of.
Brilliant. And what's a go-to market that's surprised you lately, that's often underdeveloped?
Ooh, influencers. That's something that I think we talked about. Clay does it really well. Nobody better than them at this game. But we recently did a launch video, and instead of like paying millions of dollars to YouTube ads and having billboards, we basically paid tens of dollars or hundreds of dollars, very cheap, to influencers to just say, amplify our post. Can you record a video using Jeeva, and we'll give you Jeeva access for free. And it was amazing. We probably spent $800 and we got almost 600,000 impressions on a single LinkedIn post, got almost $10 million in pipeline in a single day. And it was all through like user generated content or influencers. So that's like one thing that I've been very excited about. Maybe I'll say one more thing, which is a hack. Slack groups has been a big thing for us, or Facebook groups. So what we do is we actually go and join every single go-to-market group and try to talk to people there and tell them about Jeeva. It's very labor intensive, but it's been working very well for us as like a growth hack or like a channel that's very underexploited. You start building relationships, you post good content. Let's say you join a cool group about CRM implementations, and then all of a sudden you just slip in, hey, by the way, this is what we do at Jeeva if you want to check it out. And we've been getting a lot of deals through that, and has been responsible for a lot of our ARR.
Yeah, brilliant. And look, and that's, 7 million in 12 months or less than 12 months is incredible. The last one is, you've been in this game for 15 years roughly now, like you said. What do you know now that you wish you had known earlier?
Yeah, so it's a very non-obvious advice and it's nothing to do with AI, but I would say a couple of things that I have to teach myself is believe in myself, or I would say to all the entrepreneurs out there or anyone, just believe in yourself more and believe in your gut more. I wish I did that before when I was younger. I doubted myself a lot. I doubted my decisions a lot. The only other thing I would say is take more risk. There's never been a better time to start your own company, start your own agency, do your own thing, to maybe take on another product line or hire people or fire people, whatever you want to do, take more risks. And there's a very low downside to taking huge risk at this point of time. The upside could be limitless because you're in a whole new wave in a whole new world right now.
Yeah, and like you said, you love to read biographies. I love to do a lot of history, and you can just see that this is, a massive wave, and you're here, right? So here you might always, leverage it as much as you possibly can. So I fully agree with that. But look, it's brilliant having you on. In the outro, I'll talk about how people can get more about Jeeva.ai. But well done on your growth. Well done on actually providing salespeople with something that is useful, right? A lot of the things is normally sales CRMs, it's around, making it harder for salespeople. I think what you're doing is making it easier. So well done for what you created.
Thank you so much, Paul. Grateful for having me. I had a blast. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. If your clients are still buried in admin, as I've said, and heavy in CRMs, chasing leads manually, or just writing check-ins emails, which drives me crazy, that's a problem. Send this episode to your client who's ready to monetize how they sell. And if you want to see Jeeva.ai and how it plugs into your stack and your client's stack, head to an amazing offer. Go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/Jeeva. The links will be in the show notes below, and you'll get an exclusive 90% off for the first year. That's right. I couldn't even say it. I was so excited. 90% off for the first year. G's building the AI SDR engine of the future, but the great thing is it's available right now for you. See you next time on the Paul Higgins podcast. If you've got value today, hit subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and reach out. Let me know you've listened. I'd love to hear from you.